Welcome to our greenhouse. This is a short video just to show you some of the latest things that are in flower, what it's currently looking like, and what we're excited about and has got us wanting to share with you at the moment. As you can see, we're walking through and having a look at the new display. We relayed the greenhouse. I've done a video on this already. We relayed the greenhouse back in the early spring, and it's really starting to look like a jungle. Well, we love it, and we are still adding new plants to the website all the time. However, we have had some website trouble recently, so that was a little bit on hold. In front of us, we can see Maranta, Leucanura. This the fascinator clone. That's a new plant that you can see in front of us. Peperomia tetraphylla, just new in stock. That Maranta is a favourite, and one that we've just dropped the prices on because it is such a good seller, and we just want to keep selling it. Streptocarpus saxorum is one of my personal favourites. I like Streptocarpus, I like Gesneriads, and that one is so easy to grow. Just don't let it dry out, and don't let the water stay on the leaves for too long. Like with any Gesneriad, it's subject to leaf melt. This poor little thing had just gone over when I'd done the filming. Dendrobium bullenianum. It's one of my favourite dendrobiums. Such good colour in the greenhouse when you have it in flower. But this is flowering from 5 spikes. I was impressed and happy with that one. This is a new one in stock. Bulbophyllum. I can never pronounce it. Dendrochilum, I think. One of the national collection plants here, Dendrochilum filiforme. You can see the long racemes of flowers coming down from the very long spikes, a lot longer than the average Dendrochilum, and actually more flowers than the average Dendrochilum on a spike as well. One of the most common found in cultivation. Dendrobium chameleon is something that I'm going to be taking some of those kikis off and getting some more plants going. They sold before I even hit the website last year. Biophytum, sensitiveum, I've got to get rid of those flowers on there before they go over. That's something you have to do with this just to keep them looking small, because they will go to seed as soon as they have finished flowering, and it's only an annual. That's another new one, a begonia species there. Got to get that on listed. These we're really happy with, and they're going to be listed for sale. That's Encyclia alata. We've got the picture coming on in a second. You can see what we do is we always wait for new roots to come on and appear on the plant first. We won't just sell you something that's just coming off the boat and we've just unpacked. That's wrong orchid trading. We just don't agree with it. And we will always make sure it's gone through a cycle first and it's established itself. That way we know that we're not giving you any problems that might actually be in that plant that have not yet surfaced. Sometimes it can take months for some of these things to reveal themselves. There's some Dendrobium Hancockii there, which are coming along as well, will be available soon. Now, I've seen this in the wild. I love it. Leucophyta brownii from Australia, cushion plant. There's an even better related plant, which is called the blue bush, which I'm desperately trying to get hold of seeds of at the moment, so we can start selling that one as well. Epic plant. Used to be only available in Australia though. Here's some of the cactuses that you can see. That collection, it got bigger. I'm stopping it. We're not stopping selling it, but just stopping growing it at the moment because those things hurt, and I'm sick of getting the spikes in my hands all the time. Simania nemathoides is going to be hitting the website catalogue very soon. We're going to be dividing up. We've got 3 plants of it, dividing them up, selling them on. This is another favourite genus of mine, Amorphophallus. That's atroviridis. I just did a video just on these guys recently, so I'm not going to go on about them too much. Decue-silvae, Spectabilus, which I don't believe is in cultivation in Europe. Well, it is now, of course. And there you can see hirsutism on the end, which is the tallest one I've got growing there. And I may have actually seen that in the wild when I was in Sumatra. I've got some pictures of something that looks remarkably similar. Jatropha, they're going over now, and I'm not used to the winter care of those, so I've got a little bit of research to do for those. Another new species of begonia to the houseplant trade, that is, because it's just been done in the tissue culture. up till this point, it was always really, really expensive to get plants. Love this thing here. This is Bulbophyllum monstrabile. It's meant to stink, like really badly stink, but actually it's only got more of a faint smell for me personally. It still smells like death or poo or however you want to describe it, carcass. But it's an interesting thing. You can see how these things wind up the trees in the wild. They're epic, and they would just go from, you see, that's my hand there with the leaves, and just going up the trunk right up to the canopy, and just winding the way around. And there's the leaf there. So you need to grow them in a tray like you can see growing there, or if you've got a really long cork tube, yeah, absolutely knock yourself out. But they are a great addition to an established greenhouse. Don't think they're one that you're going to be able to grow inside, but I love to be proven wrong. There's a couple of plants there. I've got a few from that section. Another Bulbophyllum here. This is a Sulawesi endemic. Unfortunately, the slugs have just got it there, and but there is two spikes coming along, and this one flowers quite readily, usually for about 3 or 4 months, just one after another. Going to the middle greenhouse. I'm about to redo the roof of this one because the roof is just in appalling state. Managed to get myself some 10 mil polycarb on Facebook Marketplace for free. So I'm chuffed. So I'm going to got some big sheets. We're just going to redo it. There's begonia and flower there. Really has come along from this summer. This is a spectacular plant you're about to see here. This is one of the Gesneriads. It was actually bought in a florist. I found this plant in a florist. I haven't seen it on the wholesale list from the Dutch suppliers. I haven't seen it really anywhere. So I just don't know where they'd got hold of it. But it's a great little thing. It was bought as an Episcia. I need to do some further research on it. Anyone with an expert knowledge of Gesneriads, please get in touch. Send me a private message if you have more of an idea. But that's it. Look at all the number of spikes on there. I love it. So well chuffed with that one. And if you knew the price I paid for it, you'd be jealous. So yeah, that one apparently does. It might work with leaf culture, so leaf cutting. So we've established one of those, and we're just going to give that a go and see what happens. You can see the Achinemes, the purple flowers there just in front of you, the dark purple, still going. They started back in, when was it? April, I think, on the plants, and they just one after another. It's been flower for months. So yeah, and they'll just keep going. And I'm so glad I got those rhizomes. It's not common in cultivation at all. One little thing that's in here that we're about to see is, is it Aglaonema? We don't yet know, but I'm doing some further investigation on it at the moment. But these things here, I've actually chopped up some of the stems and getting some positive results from that just by chopping them up. They really, really didn't take very well to the import when I did that. Love this thing. This is rare. This is a Columnea, another Gesneriad, but an epiphytic one. Columnea brenneri, and from South America. Achinemes is from Southeast Asia, Columnea from South America, but they're both quite similar, really, in for habit anyway. Columnea are rather difficult to find. None of them have made their way into the houseplant market. And when I mean houseplant market, I'm talking about the tissue culture mass production that goes on in the Netherlands and some Belgium as well. But yeah, none of them have made their way to that. Yeah, I'm sure they will. I'm shocked all the time at what keeps finding its way. The Aglaonema picta tricolor has just made it, and is now being mass produced. As is the blue iridescent begonia pavona. These are some more Amorphophallus. That's another one that was found growing in a Dendrobium formosum pot. God knows how I managed to spill the corn of that. These are the atroviridis coming up at the moment. They'll be offered for sale over the next couple of weeks, actually. As soon as we've got the website finally sorted, we're still having problems. And these will be offered for sale as well. The muelleri, I think that's how I pronounce it. As is that pilea, that little thing next to it. We'll be offering that for sale. No, it's not yet. Has not been on the website. So when the greenhouse electrics failed last year, the aroids were the first of the plant groups to show signs of cold damage. Definitely the first to start dying, and the plant group that suffered the most. I had more casualties with the aroids than anything else. Yeah, definitely around the 80 to 90% of them died. However, I decided to keep some of the what weren't rotting bits of corms and even roots on one of them in the soil, in the pots, and just see what happened. Now, a lot of them ended up still dying anyway, gradually rotted, but there are a few that actually didn't die, and they're just starting to come back to life. And here's an example of one of them. This is one of the Anthurium crystallinums, and look at that, a third leaf, and it's come back. See how big the plant once was. It's hard, the light's going down because of the time of day. But yeah, just even get those small little leaves. This is another national collection flower, Dendrochilum undulatum. Got two plants of this in the national collection. It was described from this from plants that this plant also came from. So this is an important species for me to have as part of that collection. But yeah, it's not that common. It has been found in the wild. Now this is one of the rarest plants, and the one I alluded to in the headings that I have in my whole collection. There's only a few people globally who have this in cultivation. Unfortunately, the flowers have just gone over here. I'm going to post some macro shots of this, the next one that's coming up behind it, to Instagram once that's ready. Exceptionally rare. I don't get much rarer than that in my greenhouses. And the lip really is almost black. This is doing well. It's one of the plants I got from Oliver from Scotland, Scotland carnivorous plants, back in the Glasgow Orchid Show. This thing's doing epically well. I was suspicious whether this plant was correctly labeled or not. I've gone back and I've found some holotype, isotype material, sorry, that actually does suggest that yes, it is actually Solanum evolvifolium. I think that's how I pronounce it. But it's branched, it's going in multiple directions. Leaves are getting much bigger. They're wrinkled and grooved, and really, really happy with how this is growing. I've already started cutting bits off. Bulbophyllum mandibulare. I love this little thing. It dances around when it moves as well, and a lot prettier, I think, than some of its relatives and similar species. I personally like this one a lot more, and it's a lot more compact, and you can see that it will flower from only just a few bulbs in that pot. And there's another spike coming up in another part of the plant at the moment, so I'm really happy with that. Here's a Dendrochilum woodianum, another national collection plant. There's a lot of national collection plants out in flower actually at the moment. This one I've showed lots over the years, and it's one that I've done to death, but I will always still show it when it's in flower, and it's nice to get a red color Dendrochilum. It's the first time flowering in my collection anyway. This was plant I bought from Sarah from Burnham Nurseries. This is the clone you want to get of Gracile. If you there are so many different clones of it out there, but this is the one with the longest inflorescences, really good scent, and attractive flowers. You know, good sized flowers. The brown and the yellowish contrast of the two, and look how foliferous that is. Um, I haven't even been growing it in maximum light like I should with a lot of the Dendrochilum. That was just showing a view of the Dendrochilums, which are all unknown, unlabeled. I have loads, so just waiting for them to all come into flower. That greenhouse now is a bit darker in here because we are under the conifer tree above us. That helps keep the temperatures down, though. Yeah, come this time of the day, this time of the year, it's not as light as what it could be. There are a couple of interesting flowers in here to show you though. And first is one of my favourite orchids is my stock plant of Dracula Morley. Here we go. They really do look like little monkeys. And there were more. I snapped a couple off by accident. I've got a couple of spikes still yet to open. I love that one. That would be, if you think about what would be, if you ask the question, what would be one of the last orchids you would get rid of in your collection? That's going to be up there for me. So this one here, I need to go and check this on the all the books. But this is what I purchased as decue-silvae, and has always turned out in the past to be something very, very different. I'm thinking it's not going to be silvae. I'll be very happy if it is. I'll take some macro shots of it, but again, I think it's I bought and spent a lot of money on something that's not quite what it's meant to be, which is the story of your life. If you collect or you buy Dracula species, expect that about half of them turn out to be something very different. So if you spend a lot of money on Dracula, be very, very careful. It's a real buyer beware, particularly with one or two of the retailers, South American retailers out there that they're renowned for, well, if the plant's not dead when you get it, chances are it's probably incorrectly labeled. Okay, then there's something else. The Scaphocephalum gibbosum, for any of you that have been to any of my talks before and heard me talk about this species, I talk about my plant that's been in flower non-stop since 2012, which is true. It's this is the I divided it recently and into smaller bits because it was just falling apart, and it survived. It survived the electrics. Thank God. A lot of the stuff in this greenhouse did survive it. There's the Masdevallias that struggled. Now you'd think that the Masdevallias, but they just they seem to be a little bit more temperamental, less forgiving than some other orchids. But this is the last spike left on this, and guess what? It's just dried at the end, which means that officially it's actually stopped flowering for the first time since 2012. Of course, plants will always go backwards a little bit when you divide them. But yeah, put them into the smaller plants now, and got some of those. I think when the website's finally back up and running, but they've come from that particular clone, and it's the white clone. So there are the two clones of Scaph gibbosum. I used to have the standard clone, which is actually harder to get, and it's much smaller. It looks more like a Marinoi and a Schwertifolium, and that is found over a wider area. The white one, which is the one that's the largest flower in the genus, and the one that you really want to get, which is this one, it was only found in one valley in Colombia down in the south, and that valley is now being cleared of forest, so the plant is in effect extinct in the wild. So the plants that we have now in cultivation are it. So it's really important. Again, it's another good reason why there's a role for us as growers, that we keep these things growing in cultivation, and for groups like Plant Heritage which is for those of us in private collections that have plants. It's great because we can trade, swap them, get to enjoy them in our own backyards, our own houses, and also for botanical institutions. It's really important that these things are in those collections, and that we continue to support organisations like Plant Heritage and the botanical institutions, Glasgow Botanic Garden, Kew Botanic Garden, Wisley, Wales. There are a load of them I can rattle off, but really important we show our support, because without all of this, there are so many more species that are going to become extinct.